me start then by introducing this motion, which is what is the future of CRM. And of course, really the $6 million question is, can we achieve this CRM nirvana? You know, can we keep most of the company's customers happy most of the time? Now, Henley Business School have worked in collaboration with CDC to do some research around the whole customer service issue. And I thought I'd just share with you a few of our initial headline findings, which are really quite fascinating. 75%, for example, of the people that we surveyed agree and strongly agree that Britain's consumers are becoming increasingly dissatisfied with the standards of customer service that they receive from companies in general, which is a pretty damning indictment, really. 65% say that companies don't really fully understand them. So they still feel that companies still don't have that good customer insight to really understand what customers want and what they want from the right kind of level of service. What's quite staggering as well is that 80% agree and strongly agree that they would like to initiate a contact with a company rather than a company initiate the contact with them. So when they are good and ready, they want to go out and talk to companies, not the other way around. So it kind of says a lot for our outbound call centres, really. And finally, 80% find it intrusive if companies do contact them when they're not good and ready. There are many more findings from that, but I thought I'd just start off with a few of those, which really does question whether it is possible to keep most of the customers happy most of the time.
Just covering the bit about social media, I think industry has to start using this an awful lot more now. The likes of Twitter and Facebook. Customers use these areas now as legitimate complaint channels. And I think as business, we need to actually try and catch up with our customers and get on the same page as them, but ultimately get a few pages ahead of them so we're ready for the challenge when it actually arrives. And I guess to end on a positive note, I think from my view of the world, complaints are actually a very positive thing. You know, they tell us as business what we do well and what we can actually do better. And I think industry right across the piece has to embrace that information and use it for the betterment of both the business and the customer.
Thanks, Matthew. Can I pick up on that last point, well, second to last point, which is why we use Twitter and these different channels as legitimate complaints channels. Surely we're doing that because we feel as if actually companies aren't listening to us. You know, you complain, you phone up, you can't get through on the telephones, you write, nothing happens. So out of absolute desperation in the end, you either make a YouTube video or you go on Twitter or you do something. I mean, do you think that's very much the case?
I think that's the way it was to begin with, but I think the world has shifted. I think to begin with, that's where we are at. It was a case of people would go through these social media programs to do that. But I mean, just the other day, I saw something from Andrew Neil from the BBC. Mm-hmm. You know, something had gone wrong in an airport where some luggage had been lost. And his first call was to go to Twitter to ask people which hashtag phrase he should be using to get a response. So it wasn't that he'd gone to the airport and he'd kicked up a fuss. It was actually, this is a legitimate complaint channel and I want to raise it through.
So they've gone straight to that.
Absolutely.
But you know, is that not bad news? Ladies and gentlemen, for companies, and that they're not getting the opportunity themselves to respond. It's going public straight away.
Well, if I can pick up, I think there's several things. For me, the whole area of social media is clearly a growing important channel, but it is one channel. And you know, this morning we've had a lot of debate about what is important to us as consumers. Well, choice is one of those. And therefore, depending on who I am and being treated as an individual, I may actually use one of the social media channels, I may pick up the phone, I may write, I may email. The thing for me is how fast an organisation can resolve that challenge or that complaint. The Institute undertakes a survey twice a year for 26,000 consumers across a whole range of industry sectors. And it's interesting, we've been doing this for the last 3 years. And in the 3 years, we've seen a movement of a score from 66 to 77 out of 100 in terms of level of satisfaction. So what we are seeing across all of those sectors is an increasing level of satisfaction.
Okay, but Borders had 90% customer satisfaction, and they've gone bust.
Yes.
So please, what more could they have done? They had shops all over the place full of really, really happy customers reading their books, drinking their coffee, you know, really, really nice community thing going on there, but nobody was buying anything. Pepsi did a really expensive campaign, which was very, very successful. Everybody loved it. They had thousands of tweets and vast numbers of Facebook people, said positive things. They didn't sell any more Pepsi. Customer satisfaction isn't the complete goal, is it? So if it's not the complete goal, how can you do both things? How can you sell more product and keep your customers happy?
I can pick up on that one if you like. I think the important thing is to get the balance, because you can't have a business which just does customer service, and you can't have a business which just does commerciality, for want of a better phrase, because if you don't get the balance right, then you go up, in the example of Borders. Now, the example of Borders, it was just a very nice library. And I used to go there, and it was good. I used to love going there. You sit down, you'd buy the coffee, but you wouldn't buy anything else. You'd have a good flick through, and that was that.
So what should Borders have done?
Borders, they should charge people an entry fee.
Right.
That's what I'd have done if it were my business, but what do I know about book selling?
So do you think you can reach CRM nirvana? Do you think you can keep most of the people happy most of the time from a Page and Moy perspective?
Unfortunately, I'd have to cite volcanic ash, tsunamis, BA's cabin crew going on strike, unrest in the Middle East to say, unfortunately, no, I can't.
But
they provide me with wonderful opportunities to show how good we are.
Exactly.
But they do also make people unhappy some of the time.
Exactly. I mean, the old adage about, if you're dissatisfied, you're going to tell 1 in 20 people.
Well, we've actually tested that. The theory that if you treat complaining customers well, they are more loyal to you.
Yeah.
We actually did that. Yeah. And our rebooking ratio for complainers was higher than for the rest of our business.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
And we've actually got the stats to back that up. Now, that for me was a bit of a theory that no one had ever tested.
No.
But we could actually do that in our business.
That's fantastic. And, in terms of the reach, in terms of even if you hit, 10% of your friends that you forward this dissatisfaction on Facebook, everybody has got, on average, 132 contacts. So therefore, if you say to 10% of your contacts and you forwarded your dissatisfaction onto those, it's literally 3 or 4 clicks before you're into millions of people. And that has a massive power to be really, really negative. Now, in terms of then how companies deal with that, for me, it's not. There's no magic wand that you can wave to blow away the volcanic dust, unfortunately. But in terms of if you can then react quickly, and you can, it's more than half the battle is actually responding positively back, saying thank you very much for your complaint. You know what, we're treating you as a person as opposed to leaving you on the East Coast main line for 5 hours at a time to walk back to your nearest station, then at that particular point you're 9/10 of the battle.
I think I'd like to do a warning a bit like you're beating the drum for multi-channel. I'd like to say don't ever kid yourself you've got a loyal customer, because this what doesn't exist. I mean, I think Amazon's a really good point. I adore Amazon. I love to have their emails arrive because they're always funny, even if I don't want to read the books. It's always interesting seeing what they think they should suggest to me. Great fun. But if they go wrong, if I find somebody who's doing a better service than they are, if I find their morals begin to go a bit pear-shaped, if they start trying to sell me things in a way I'm not happy with, I shall go somewhere else, if there is somewhere to go. The same goes for my Apple iPhone, which I adore. If there's a better product, I'll go to that better product. And right now, I'm an absolute Groupon fan. But I'll stay with Groupon until there's somebody that offers me even better deals. And I think I would say that if we all put our hands on our hearts and we're totally honest, we'd all agree with that. And I think if you're complacent, if you think that there is loyalty in this world, because there isn't.
But what I would say is that I would question slightly your comment about loyalty, because I think when people are spending a lot of money, there is loyalty. It does exist because they want to trust somebody with that purchase. Now, you're talking about a book. You can buy a book from Amazon, you can buy a book from Tesco, you can buy a book from whoever. A book is a book. Don't get me wrong, it might be your favourite book, but there's lots of people that do it and can do it well. However, particularly one of the companies that we have, a company called Just You Holidays, which is for people travelling on their own, not necessarily singles or dating, but people who just like to travel because their partner doesn't want to go abroad or whatever. They are looking for more of a social environment. They are looking to trust their money with somebody, and therefore who they choose is absolutely crucial, which is why we are finding that that's the biggest growth area for us, and they are willing to invest that money with us because they can trust us, and there is loyalty. And our repeat booking
Yeah,
rate
I'm
is
not saying
sky high.
that you can't keep people coming to you if you provide a good service. But what I'm saying is they will soon stop if you stop delivering, and that you're only as good as your last holiday.
I think you are, but I also think there's a step in between that where they give you an opportunity to put it right. And that perhaps is an area that Matthew and I are kind of more kind of specialised in, is that they will write to you. And just to pick up on some of the other points, you've got to give them the route to do that, and you've got to make it easy. And actually, one of the questions we ask on our Welcome Home questionnaire is, would you recommend us to a friend? Apparently, that is the ultimate question. It's not whether you would book with us again, because that's, you might do, you might not do. Your circumstances might change, they may not. But when you walk out of your house and you talk to your friends and your neighbours, would you say, I went with the Page and More Travel Group, that was great, well, we hope you would. That's more of a question. So that's that kind of feeling loyalty question as opposed to a vague indication of future activity. So no, I'd absolutely say that loyalty for us is key and is high.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we must come to an end, so I'm just going to ask each of the panel members, so one sentence, okay? You can't get carried away here. So last word from each of them. We're better start here with Matthew, yes?
Okay, I'm going to stick with what I said at the beginning. It's all about culture, and we've got to have a big focus on quality over quantity.
Lovely, thanks Matthew. Michael?
I'm going to get myself some more Facebook followers because I don't have 132. I've only got about 15. You'll all hear from me shortly.
So that's a Billy no mate, so we better move on. Jonathan?
Yeah, don't look for me on Twitter either, sorry, after all of that. No, really, it's consistency of people and process for me in terms of being able to deliver that message to our customers.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Joe?
Alignment of business, your strategy, your people and your processes.
Thank you. And Martin?
I just think it's a case of maintaining the intimacy and making sure that people use it effectively in dealing with the customers.
Yeah. And for me, it's sort of close to Joe, really, in that having those foundations right, you've got to get the right strategy, you've got to have the right IT, and you've really fundamentally, in line with what Matthew says, you've got to have the right people delivering it, otherwise it's all going to go wrong. Thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.